Hello, let's look at the life cycle of Wucheria bancrofti. Starting off with a human being, we assume that this human being is infected with Wucheria bancrofti, which means there are worms present tightly coiled inside the lymphatic vessels of this human being. Now, notice that I said worms and not worm. What does that mean? If you remember, in case of Taenia solium, there was one worm that was living inside the jejunum of a human being. But in case of Wucheria bancrofti, it is a dioecious worm, meaning that it has a male and it has a female, which have to come together for reproduction to happen. Let's understand this better with the help of a diagram. So here you can see that there is a male and there is a female. Male, if you notice, is coiled, whereas female, it is somewhat elongated. Male also has this structure which is called as copulatory spicule. There is a pair of copulatory spicule present in male, which helps in copulation, which helps male copulate female. Anyways, so let's move forward with the life cycle. These worms, let's say these are tightly coiled inside the lymphatic vessels, copulation happens, development and everything, and that reproduction resulted in the formation of sheathed microfilaria. Now, what are microfilaria and what are sheathed microfilaria? Microfilaria, you can visualize these as the little small babies of Wucheria bancrofti, and sheath is because they are sheathed. That is quite literally true. These have a hyaline sheath around them. Let's understand this better with the help of a diagram. So, Wucheria bancrofti microfilaria is going to have an anterior end and a posterior end. The anterior end has a pink part, which is the microfilaria, and a blue part, which is the sheath. These pink part, as you can see, it has little dot-like structures, which are called as nuclei. And these nuclei are basically elongated cells which seem continuous under microscope, almost like a syncytium. And here in case of posterior end, you can also see that this is true. But if you look closely, these nuclei, they don't extend till the tip of the organism. This hyaline sheath is produced by the embryo and uterine epithelium in a very coordinated way. Now notice I said embryo as well as uterine epithelium. This suggests that the microfilaria are spending their time inside the body of Wucheria. Well, that is true because Wucheria bancrofti are ovoviviparous. What does that mean? This means that the organism, the microfilaria, are going to be present inside the female body, but they are not going to derive their nutrition from female. They have Wucheria for that. Anyways, so the microfilaria of Wucheria bancrofti has the size of about 300 micrometer into 8 micrometer, which is quite big compared to other microfilaria. And this is important for us to understand whether the microfilaria are sheathed or the fashion in which the nuclei are arranged, because there are so many different types of microfilaria, because there are different types of filarial worms. For example, Loa, we have Wucheria bancrofti, we also have Manzanella postans, etc. etc. These microfilaria live inside the blood, whereas the adult worm, they are present in the lymphatic vessels. These sheath microfilaria also show nocturnal periodicity between 10 pm to 4 am. What does that mean? So, these microfilaria don't usually come out of the blood circulation except for this time period, because the Culex mosquito usually feeds during this time period or this time bracket. And if these microfilaria are not transferred to this Culex within 70 days, they die. You can see over here also that the microfilaria is sheathed. This pink structure is sheath, whereas these violet structures or the blue structures, these are the nuclei, and nuclei don't extend till the tip of the microfilaria, the posterior end. Anyways, now this nocturnal periodicity, or the reason behind it, is not totally true or it's not totally understood well, but we assume that this happens because of the blood meal timing of Culex. Anyway, so Culex takes in microfilaria along with its blood meal, and these sheath microfilaria loses their sheath when they travel to the midgut of the mosquito within 2 to 4 hours. Then these microfilariae, they move outwardly into the hemocele, then the thoracic muscles, and finally these microfilariae convert into L1 larvae, which are sausage shaped larvae, and this happens within 2 days of entering into the body of Culex. Then the first molting happens, resulting in the formation of a L2 larva. Then second molting happens, resulting in the formation of L3 larva, and whole of the process takes about 10 to 20 days. Anyways, then the L3 larva reaches the labium of mosquito, and when mosquito is going to take its blood meal, these L3 larvae will get transferred into human, and they take about 5 to 18 months to become sexually mature, and the whole of the cycle is repeated again. Now notice here we said Culex. So Culex is a genus of mosquito, but there are different types of mosquitoes also. Mainly the filariasis is caused by blood-sucking insects, but in particular there is a mosquito species called as Culex quinquefasciatus, which is responsible for spreading this notorious disease. These are medium-sized mosquito. They live in tropical and subtropical regions, and these are vector to Wucheria bancrofti, avian malaria, and arboviruses. For example, Zika virus, West Nile virus, etc. And the female can lay about 5 rafts of eggs, and each raft has 100 to 300 eggs. And here you can see that this mosquito is a R-selected organism because of the number of eggs that it produces, but not all of these develop into adult. Anyways, how can you differentiate or how can you diagnose that this mosquito is Culex quinquefasciatus? It is brown bodied, you can see, with darker proboscis, tarsi, and wings, you can see, and the antennae are about same sized as the proboscis or slightly shorter, whereas in case of females these are feathery antennae and larger palps. So you can differentiate a male from a female showing sexual dimorphism. Let's quickly look at the pathology of of filarial worm also, this Wucheria. So when you think of Wucheria bancrofti, Elephantisis comes into mind. But that is not true because Elephantisis is the terminal stage of Wucheria infection. It starts off very slowly with filarial fever. You'll have fever, you'll notice a headache, also mental depression, which is quite novel. Then inflammation of lymph vessels happen, which is lymphangitis. Here you can see the lymph vessels are swollen and have reddened. This is followed by the inflammation of lymphatic glands, which is called as lymphadinitis. Here you can see lymph gland, it is swollen. This is followed by lymphedema, which is the buildup of fluid or the blockage of lymph vessel. And then there is extremities of the bodies, you can see the retention of fluid, like in case of scrotum in males there is hydrocele formation. In case of females, the mammary glands are swollen. This results in fibrotic tissue and accumulation of fibroblast in the tissue, and this also results in the disintegration of sweat glands, which makes the skin very rough, patchy, and scaly. Over here you can see that this is a normal scrotum, and this is a scrotum which has hydrocele buildup. This is a fluid filled situation, and it is quite painful. And the terminal stage of this infection, this is elephantiasis. You can see over here that lymph that the lymphatic vessels are swollen because of the tissue retention, and this condition is irreversible. This deformity is lifelong. So watch out for these symptoms first, so that the terminal stage called elephantiasis could never happen. Anyways, this Wucheria infection is a neglected tropical parasite. It causes a neglected tropical disease. Now that is because the Culex fasciitis, it lives in the tropical and subtropical regions, causing infections in tropical, mainly in subtropical regions, for example India and Africa, etc. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope I see you again.